The scene at Budgens in Holt, where fire was reported at 9:15 last night. The flames reducing 35 years of history to this.
It's just shock, pure shock. I was sort of out until 1 o'clock last night, so I saw it. I was in the thick of it. Well, social distancing went out the window, that's for sure. But yeah, a lot of people, a lot of tears, and yeah, just general shock really.
Deborah Jickles has worked here for 21 years.
Well, it's just got to me, like seeing it like this. I didn't think it would, but just seeing it, it's just awful.
The local MP too spent 11 years working for the C.T. Baker Group, one of Norfolk's oldest businesses and the company which owns the store.
I have been absolutely amazed in the last few hours by the outpouring in the community of people saying, let me help, people offering their facilities. This is a really amazing community.
Many people here today have told me that this could not have come at a worse time for the town. Not only is this a major local employer, but it's also the town's only supermarket. And during the lockdown, many elderly and vulnerable people were relying heavily on its home delivery service. 90 people worked at the store, which was closed at the time of the fire, so nobody was hurt.
Well, it's absolutely devastating. It's heartbreaking, actually, Jenny. We've spoken to every single member of our team today, and they all said, what about our customers? We're seeing the senior management of Budgens tomorrow, and it's really just sort of taking one day at a time at the moment.
An investigation into how the fire began is underway, and an emergency phone line will start operating tomorrow for anyone needing urgent food supplies. Jenny Kirk, BBC Look East, Holt.
Before we get to Chris and the weather, it is that time of year when nature treats us to mesmerising murmurations.
Starlings swoop and swerve to their own dance across our dusky skies, and bird watchers in Cambridgeshire have been treated to a spectacle. This starling murmuration was filmed above the lakes in Fen Drayton.
Beautiful, isn't it? Now, the drone that was put up there, it almost makes you feel like you're flying with them, doesn't it? And they come towards you. Incredible, look at that.
You have to then duck. It comes towards you.
Ali from Abingdon and Mohammed from Reading will soon be driving double-deckers all over Oxfordshire if all goes according to plan. They're here for another day's intensive training at the Oxford Bus Company in Cowley.
OK, Ali, in the next roundabout, what I'd like you to do, please, is go all the way round, following the signs for Reading.
I was very nervous. It's completely different from driving a car.
Yeah. But your confidence is built up pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah, we had some good training, and I'm very confident now.
It's really interesting. It's just you have to learn. It's the same color car, but it's bigger, big size. It's really good, and if you're enjoying it, it's really good.
The company is keen to get them onto the roster as soon as possible because acute driver shortages mean services are having to be cancelled on a daily basis. The X3 is an important service connecting Abingdon here with Oxford, but there are 10 cancellations on this route today, and that's just a small part of the picture. 10 Oxford Bus Company routes are affected, more than 100 services across the area, mostly down to the fact that there aren't enough drivers. Councils are pushing hard for more of us to use buses, but that can only work if buses are reliable. And some passengers we caught up with in Abingdon said things just weren't good enough for them right now.
The other week, they just disappeared. They've got no bus drivers, apparently.
They're not bad, actually, yeah. I can't think of any bad experience I've had with buses.
Just got to sit here and wait to see what turns up.
I would say it's the biggest number one business issue we have at the moment, and the biggest we've seen in decades. Our drivers are doing a lot of overtime and everything that they can to keep the services running. Even our office managers are going out and doing shifts.
Oxford sees competition for staff from the BMW Mini plant right next door and from rival bus companies. Stagecoach told us they too have seen problems, but a successful campaign in Swindon means services there are now back on track. Arriva in Buckinghamshire say they too are actively recruiting to stem cancellations. Back in Oxford, it's not just drivers the company is seeking to recruit.
Oh no, we're actually looking for skilled engineers too. Obviously, we also offer apprenticeships for engineers, as well as behind the scenes of the bus company. There's many areas: accounts, commercial side. There's various obviously roles within the business. It's just not about men. It's not a men's world. It's a women's world as well. We encourage people from every background.
On the training coach, instructor Alan has lost count of the drivers he's trained down the years, but says he recognises how times are changing.
Yes, I remember the old garage down on the Cowley Road before we moved up here. And down there they used to have a sign outside saying no vacancies. Very rare would have a sign saying vacancies, but it'd say no vacancies. Now, as you can see, there's a sign here behind us saying, do you want a job?
And once you've passed, you may grow to love the job as much as Norman, who we caught up with on the 46.
It's something that I've always loved. I've always enjoyed driving. Always, I love driving buses, and it's the best ever thing that ever happened to me.
There's a recruitment open day on September the 11th. Ali and Mohammed are keeping their fingers firmly crossed they'll have passed their test by then. And with cancellation pressures, the bus company certainly is too. Wesley Smith, ITV News, Oxford.
This is the Richard Benson Hall, where we pack probably about between parcels for about 1,500 to 2,000 people a week.
Oxford Mutual Aid on the Cowley Road was originally set up to help during the pandemic. This batch of bread has just come from a national bakery in Banbury and can be used to support a sharp rise in demand for the number of emergency, on-the-day food parcels.
I'm very, very worried. We're in a crisis. We've been in crisis for 2 years. And we're really seeing over the past few months how much worse it's getting from people. They're not just choosing between whether or not to eat or to pay their bills. They can't afford to do either. So we're working really, really hard to build up our capacity and our winter resilience. But again, we're a community group. We have limited resources. And we're really working very hard to ensure that we don't have to turn people away, but we're worried about it coming to a point soon where we will.
Based in a low-rent church building, it's become an efficient lifeline to people from diverse backgrounds across Oxford.
A lot of the people we support are in OX3 and OX4, and obviously they, in those areas, are in the top 10 most deprived areas in the UK, where between 30 and 40% of children are living in food poverty.
The supplies come mostly from the Oxford Food Hub in North Hinksey, where volunteers are working flat out to cope with demand. They have 6 vans which collect food from wholesalers which would otherwise go to waste.
We're roughly 1,000, 1,200 kilograms a day at the moment, so looking to up that quite significantly so we can kind of service the charities that we're helping. We estimate something like 3 million meals a year. If we compared the environmental and the social objectives we see the food waste going in the right direction. Food poverty is going in the wrong direction and still is.
A key objective is to reduce the amount of surplus food going to landfill, and that helps 160 charities across Oxfordshire. Sometimes the charity groups come here. Kate Farrington runs a social enterprise in Wantage and comes here weekly to collect food for free community cooking events for up to 40 people.
It's a lifeline, really. I mean, I don't go anywhere else to collect food, and they're always very welcoming. I just come in myself, I have a look around. Sometimes I spend an hour and a half here just looking around at the food they've got.
The Food Hub has expanded to a second warehouse, including a walk-in freezer. What difference has this made to the Hub?
So for the Hub, this has been a real game changer. So this was installed just a few months ago. We had a small freezer over there, but this has enabled us to do kind of bulk level freezing. So we can now have milk, we have bread, and importantly, we have kind of a lot of meat and fish from some of our suppliers.
They say volunteers are always needed, perhaps soon more than ever, amid concerns about the impact of food and energy prices predicted for the months ahead. Wesley Smith, ITV News, Oxford.
Newmarket at first light. No special treatment, not even the stable's superstar gets a lion. With £1 million at stake in Saturday's race alone, his trainer can hardly take his eyes off him. He's hoping his prized asset can strike gold on British Champions Day.
Full of excitement, but very aware that one wrong step, one bug, one cough, one something can shatter those dreams. Till he jumps out of the stalls on Saturday, he'll be nervous that something can go wrong.
I guess Galileo Gold has proven, though, that he's a man for the big occasion.
Yeah, he's performed on the big stage, hasn't he? And he's an Ascot winner. He won't have pre-match nerves, luckily, because to him it's just a race.
The 3-year-old is one of the stars of the season and one of the favourites for the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes. Success at Royal Ascot followed their victory in the 2000 Guineas at Newmarket.
Frankie Dettori won the Guineas and a first classic for Hugo Palmer.
Those long nights and short days in the winter, you're looking at your horses and dreaming, God, I hope that can win the Guineas, I hope that can do that. And normally it doesn't happen, so when it does, it's incredibly exciting.
In just 4 years, as Hugo's reputation has grown, so has his racing operation. From just 11 horses in training, he now has 140. Many of the best horses in Europe will be at Ascot on Britain's richest race day.
It's an opportunity for the public to see them right at the end of the season, perhaps before they go away to stud, or perhaps they're sold for broodmare prospects. So it's a sort of real culmination of the best of the best.
One of the great things about flat racing is that it doesn't necessarily need a cup final. You have a cup final every couple of weeks and the season moves on. And one of the faults about flat racing in the past is that after the St Leger meeting you had about 8 or 10 weeks where it just sort of fizzled out into nothing. British Champions Day has produced a focal point for the end of the season.
A £4.2 million total purse certainly focuses the mind, but for the horses and trainers it's about the prestige, not just the prize money. Tom Williams, BBC Look East.
There's something about when we film horses on the gallops, they're always
especially
beautiful.
on a misty morning like this. It was just lovely, wasn't it?
Stunning shots.
Beautiful
It was Grant
shots.
Norman, wasn't it, our cameraman who got
Yes.
those?
Well done to Grant.